What's going on, I've Warriors? Today we're going to talk about how to deal with intermittent fasting when you hit a plateau. It happens to a lot of people, and in this video we're going to talk about some strategies that you can use to break that plateau, but also what you might be doing that has caused the plateau. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So I get this question a lot from a lot of people. Sometimes people are successful right off the bat with intermittent fasting, and there isn't any issue. There's pretty much a streamlined process to their weight loss, but there are certain things that you need to know if you feel that you've hit a plateau. Number one is you have to make sure that you've actually hit a plateau. I know that sounds crazy, and I know it almost doesn't make sense. You're saying, wait a second, what are you talking about, Edward? I'm not seeing any difference. I was losing weight before, and now there's a pause. Something it doesn't budge. I'm checking the scale, and the scale just tells me the same weight, maybe a pound difference in one direction or the other, but it's not moving at all. And the reason I say this is because one of the things that I always advocate for is the understanding of the misleading information that you get from your scale. Your scale is incredibly one-dimensional, and it's trying to tell you something where there are multifaceted elements taking place. For example, your water retention or water release, and how much water your body's carrying is not told to you by your scale, but it will reflect on the number. The amount of glycogen that your body has stored near your muscle tissues, which contain water and creates its own weight, that's also not being told to you. How much food you have in your stomach, it's also not being told to you, but it will reflect on the scale. Now, the scale isn't completely dismissible where you can't use it at all, but it is one-dimensional, and it won't actually tell you the full story. So although you might not be seeing something moving on the scale, you may actually still be losing body fat, which is the actual goal anyways. It's not really about the scale. You just look at the scale as a representation of the body fat that you are losing and or gaining. So if you're actually losing body fat, the scale doesn't necessarily matter. If you are somebody who is detrained in the gym and you decided that now you want to start working out, you're going to build muscle in a very rapid pace comparative to someone who's been doing workouts in the gym, believe it or not, because it's the newbie gains or the new twitch fibers, twitch muscles that will activate simply because of the fact that you've never done it. You went from one extreme to a new extreme of actually working out. It's going to build muscle fairly quickly in the beginning, and that is going to cause some discrepancy in terms of the weight that you see on the scale. The best thing to do is to use the scale intelligently, understanding that it's multifaceted while giving you just the one simple number, and using other tools to determine if you have actually hit a plateau at all. For example, you can use a tape measure around your belly area and seeing where you are in terms of your belly fat region. You could also use fat calipers that can tell you when you clamp on to your belly or different parts of your body how much fat is actually there. And you can look to see if that number begins to reduce over time, because if it does, then you are losing weight. If clothes that you couldn't fit into a month ago you can fit into now comfortably, then you are losing body fat, even if the scale is not telling you that you are losing weight, because you may be losing body fat but not weight. So it is important to understand that if you are at a plateau, mentally, if you see that on the scale, that you make sure it's a true plateau of body fat. Now, if it is a true plateau of body fat, which means you've taken pictures every week, every month, and you're not seeing a difference, clothes fit exactly the same, no difference there, your belt is the same notches, nothing different there, then you aren't losing body fat. And we need to now move forward from that point. So if you are not losing body fat based off of all of these things that you've done to measure that body fat hasn't been lost, then you have to be diligent about what you are doing. You may already have gotten past that level where you didn't need to pay attention to what you were doing, and the intermittent fasting in and of itself was carrying most of the weight loss, so you were able to just sit back and relax. And by carrying most of the weight loss, I mean, yes, your body does use ketones that come from fatty acids, which means your body fat is used as fuel when you are in a fasted state. So yes, you are elevating the calorie partitioning, how you're burning the calorie, what calories are being burned. You are elevating that aspect of burning fats, and that helps, and it's kind of unique to intermittent fasting. But you still need to be at a caloric deficit for it to even happen. If you are not, it won't happen. You cannot ask your body to burn energy for free. You have to be at that deficit so that your body can pull from the body fat. Now, how do you do this? Well, if you have been doing intermittent fasting and it has carried you to a point where you didn't need to pay attention, now is the time to pay attention. Now, it isn't as crazy as you think. Oh my God, I got to pay attention to every little thing that goes in my mouth. You don't have to do that, but you have to look at what are you eating? What are you normally eating? And then create foods that you can eat, understand what those calories are, and from there you can start eating however you like with the knowledge of what you're eating. So how do I explain this? For example, if you know that one steak is X amount of calories, and you know that 2 steaks are X amount of calories, you can decide to eat 2 steaks one day or 3 steaks one day, understanding what those calorie numbers are without having to research what are those calorie numbers for those pieces of steak. Same thing with understanding all other things that you eat. Once you understand what the calorie numbers are, especially, it could be rough, it could be a rough estimate, but once you understand, then you are in a more cognitive state of understanding what you're actually eating. And this helps you if you're going above your caloric limit. Another thing that you want to do is you want to add exercise, because this makes it easier for you to eat below your caloric limit for the day, because you're expending energy with exercise and you're building muscle with exercise, which muscle helps drive your metabolic rate, because lean mass is the primary driver of your metabolic rate. And when you lose weight, what will happen is your metabolism will become efficient and your metabolic rate will begin to reduce. This is called adaptive thermogenesis or metabolic adaptation, and you are trying to fend this off as much as possible. Building muscle is going to help you do that. Now, if you've done all of this and you're still hitting a plateau, that means that you may actually be closer to your goal than you think, and it's just getting razor thin, where you have to be much more focused and much more diligent than you were before. And this is just the cold hard truth. If you're in a position where you've done everything I just said, you're going to have to then measure the calories that you're actually eating basically every single time. The easiest way to do this, though, is to eat the same things for a good amount of time and then switch over to learning the calories of something else. This is the only way you will know if you're in a caloric deficit. You need to check out your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. Understand what that is, because that takes the number into totality with a rough estimate, obviously, of how much your body is expending per day with your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, with your exercise activity thermogenesis, and even your just basal metabolic rate, your what you need to keep the lights on, just to keep your body alive that's part of your basal metabolic rate. So you get all of that information, and then you can see if you're at a caloric deficit by week to week. This is if you've hit that super plateau, done everything that I've mentioned before, and you're still not moving in body fat, which is the most important thing. You want to focus on the body fat loss, not the scale. The body fat loss is the most important. Patreons will be pinned down in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.